And welcome to the recap stream for week two. I'm Drakpack, joined by Zyrek, and we're going to be breaking down the week two matches, what unfolded in the QRLS, and have a little bit of a look ahead to week three. But Zyrek, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Like you said, we had a lot of good matchups in week number 2. I think I want to say we had like one or two sweeps. Not entirely sure. I think we had a few things on the transaction history as well. So, we'll jump into that, but first, I actually don't know what we have queued up first.
Well,
So,
first off, let's go over the transactions, see whose roster moves and who moved, and we'll break into the weekly results for week two, and then kind of highlight match of the week for this upcoming week. Go over the rest of the week matchups. Then we're gonna go into the power rankings, the players of the week, capping it off with the clips of the week. And then after that's all said and done, immediately following this stream will be Cyclones Kings at 7:30. So stay tuned and we will kind of pivot straight into that. So no need to leave. And yeah, so let's go with the roster moves.
there wasn't a lot of roster moves. There were more in week 3, which we will tell you guys about next week because, we try to keep up to date. But the Bleacher Boys ended up dropping Angel to a 2-day waiver and picking up the former Speed Demons player Masamune from free agency. And then the only other thing that we had before the week 3 transactions is Twisty Tripods was in place on Zusi for a sub deal, and that would have been for the Astros. So I'm very curious to see the Bleacher Boys picking up a new addition to their roster. I'm hoping that it can, bring some kind of fire that they need back into the lineup.
Yeah, Masamune, long-time Speed Demons player, as you mentioned last week in our week one recap. It seems like it's a good, decent pickup, but I mean, time will tell, depending on the Bleacher Boys and how they perform. They had the weird results based matchup that we'll get into too, but that was our match of the week. Bleacher Boys Clarity United coming down with a series loss, but with two overtime wins for Clarity United, it ends up being a 4-4 tie. So let's actually pivot into the weekly results for week two matchups. Start off with that Bleacher Boys Clarity United.
Like you said, Bleacher Boys taking one, Clarity United taking the win with two. And like I said, we did have a couple sweeps. I wasn't too sure how many we had, but we had the Mustangs sweeping the Cyclones, Armada sweeping the Astros. Few sweeps off the first couple games. Um, you know what, Jack? Why don't you talk about the next one that's up? Pains me to do it.
Yeah, so the Cyclones. So let's just kind of run through the results, all the results. Bleacher Boys lose 2-1 to Cyclones, but two overtimes result in a 4-4 points tie. Mustangs sweep Cyclones 3-0. Astros get swept by Armada 3-0. Arctic Assassins win a relatively tight series, all things considered, even though, he did have that one match where I believe it was either four. Was it what was the score of that match two you had against the Arctic Assassins?
You know,
I I
I
forget.
I, I hate you for
I
saying
I
this
for I
because I
for
wanted you to say it, but
it was a blowout. It was,
yeah, the
but
Arctic Assassins beat the Speed Demons 2-1. Kings beating Vibe Clan 2-1 as well. I will say I was expecting a bit of a 3-0 from Kings.
yeah, Vibe Clan with their first win in 2026, so that's good for them. They did not get a win in the preseason; they got swept, and then week one They got swept by, I believe was it the Three Rocketeers? I believe it was. So
Yes, because that was the only one that didn't show up in the weekly results in the Discord.
yeah, if you so yeah, so Vibe Clan gets their first series win or first game win. But speaking of win Spectres, are yet to lose a game with 3-0 sweep against the Elite Inc. That one just seemed like it was poised to go either way in game one, but as the games kind of went on, it felt like Spectres were just kind of dominating, and we'll get into what that means for the power rankings. But
Yeah, absolutely. As the Sappers end up beating the Rangers 2-1, they have quite a bit of I will say, a bit of a rivalry going on between those two. Um, so I'm excited to hopefully see more of those teams play against each other. Maybe we'll see them far along once we get to the finals, but I'm pretty sure they do end up playing sometime within another week. I'll have to look at the schedule. I'll look at that later. As our last game of week 2 was the Hammerheads beating the Three Rocketeers. I'm not going to say I'm shocked about that, but I definitely think the Hammerheads could have taken all 3 games. I just think they had a bit of issues in one of them. So I wanted to see the 3-0, but then again, we had a ton of them we had a few of them that happened that week, so
yeah, I
we
mean,
don't need another.
can't have too many 3-0s because then things start to get a little bit
Exactly.
boring. But I will say, on the side of the Three Rocketeers, that is a team that I have really yet to see, yet to get to cast. I think they're the. I don't think I have casted them at all. I've casted every other team, so I'd like to get an opportunity to see the Three Rocketeers play. But you know, Hammerheads were coming in a lot stronger off the preseason tournament win, but then kind of got punched in the nose a little bit, to give a little bit of a shark reference, by the Bleacher Boys, and comes out, still didn't look perfect, but gets the win. And going into week 3, which Hammerheads already had their week 3 matchup. But before we talk about the week 3 matchups, we got to highlight what's coming up for our match of the week. Armada take on Clarity United. Armada has swept the Astros, coming off of a great win in the Clarity United, taking on uh sorry beating the Bleacher Boys, who had an upset win against against the Hammerheads. I've got all the teams messed up. My apologies, everybody, but Clarity United have been looking really strong, and the Armada has continued their fairy tale run all the way through preseason semifinals, where they lost and then had a good showing in week 1, and they have continued to amaze. Mimsy has been playing out of his mind, but this Clarity United side with the pickup of Longneck has looked a little bit scary, and you gotta wonder is which one of these teams is going to make a deep playoff run, because I can't choose who's going to be in the end. There's several teams that look good, but Clarity United and Armada both look amazing, and the fact that they're running into each other now is just great TV for the early seat or for the early going. So I really hope this is going to be a good matchup, definitely. But I really hope we get to see these two match up one more time.
Absolutely. These are, I want to say, two very, like, powerhouse teams. Clarity United has, I won't say dominated previous seasons, but they have been very strong in the previous seasons. So has Armada. I mean, I'm looking at the standings on my own screens, but Armada having 10 points, Clarity United having 9. I mean, if Clarity United wins and something goes wrong between the matchup today with the Kings versus Cyclones, Clarity United might end up taking the lead in their division. And same with Armada. If Armada does really well in the Mustangs in their game in this week, if they don't play too well, they could also end up taking top position.
Well, that's a great segue onto what the next week matchups bear. Starting off, we have that Armada Clarity United, but going down Cyclones Kings on tonight at 7:30. So stay tuned. We're looking to see which side can kind of course correct a little bit. Kings having a surprisingly close match against the Vibe Clan, but the Cyclones not necessarily looking like their best selves. So, can the Cyclones get back on track, or will the Kings kind of rewrite the ship and continue onwards?
Yeah, and on top of that, we've got Mustangs versus Vibe Clan. Mustangs looking very dominant lately. I mean, they are 5-1. Vibe Clan, unfortunately, they are 1-4. So maybe, honestly, maybe they could take a game off of Mustangs. But then again, the Mustangs have been looking just super dominant lately. We got Astros versus Bleacher Boys. I mean, that game, to be fair, I want to say could go either way, but Astro hasn't been looking hot. They are 0-5 right now. So it can have some difficulties. The I'm gonna let Drac talk about this because this is the season X finals rematch between these two teams.
Yeah, Sappers, Hammerheads. If you missed it last night, you're gonna have to wait for the VOD to come out. We're not gonna spoil the results, but the season 10 tournament winners Sappers versus the runners up and the preseason tournament winners Hammerheads. It is a matchup that everybody had circled on their calendars, and even though these two rosters might not necessarily have looked the same going into this, there's some players with some long memories. Reserve Wolf and Norm in particular, I circle as two players who are kind of looking at this matchup and trying to rewrite history, or in the case of the Sappers, reaffirm it. So that was a matchup for the ages, and you will have to see that, or if wait till the week 3 recap for us to break that down, because we will not spoil the results of that. And then immediately following that, the extremely hot 6-0 Spectres going on an absolute tear in the league, really
Yay!
becoming a force to be reckoned with, an unstoppable force as they trudge through all of their opponents and completely dominate and destroy Mel, putting on a clinic last week. Take on the Speed Demons.
Yeah, I have hopes. I have hopes for it, but with how hot the Spectres are, my hopes have slowly been getting diminished. Um, but it's still gonna be a fun. It's still gonna be a good series. I think it's gonna be a great series.
Yeah, it won't be a blowout, but
I wouldn't go too far, but
anybody got 9-0 for Spectres, or will Speed Demons claw one or get the upset win? Anything can happen. I mean, we did have some shock results in week 1, so not really out of the woods yet, but I mean, Spectres have been looking amazing, and it is fun to watch, let me say.
it is not only is it fun to watch, it's amazing to cast. The stuff that they do is phenomenal, and the performance they put on is definitely something to tune into. But the last couple games that we have is the Elite Inc. versus Arctic Assassins. I I think Elite Inc. can definitely put on a good showing. But then again, Arctic Assassins, they've been looking, I want to say, decent. They're 3-1 right now. They've been looking, or well, they have 7 points. They're 3-1 according to the stats that I have. So I think it still can go both ways. And then the last game is the Rangers versus the Three Rocketeers. Again, another. These are all really great matchups.
Yeah, we have yet to really have like just utterly like complete mismatches. I mean, maybe Spectre Speed Demons is like a bit of a mismatch there, Might be
Maybe.
that might be one where you maybe watch the highlights. I'm only joking. I'm only
Yeah.
joking. It's gonna be a
No.
good match. I
Oh no, I'm sided with you on this one.
any of these teams can win. Uh, any of these teams can win on any given day, so it's not necessarily out of the picture for any of these teams to pull off a win. But I also like to give a little bit of grief to my co-caster there. So yeah,
I would try, but we're like we're just like close enough friends that I can't. I wouldn't even be able to do that. No, I'm kidding. If the roles were reversed, I definitely think this would probably have gone the same way.
probably, probably. Although I'm not good enough to be the highest ranked player on any team. So
I don't know how I'm the highest I don't know how I'm the highest rated on my
well, you're
team,
just you're just
but
you're that good,
except
and
when I'm backwards.
yeah, the
Except
the
when I'm
expe- the
backwards.
expectations were set for you to be this amazing force in the league, and anything less than that is just kind of disappointing. Mars the evening, babies cry. Like it's just awful, man. So
Well, with that being said, what else do we have left for everyone today, Drac?
All right, well, we're moving on to our power rankings, top 16, what each player or what each team is ranked by our power rankings committee. This is not necessarily the leaderboard of like where teams are placed, which teams are seeded at the moment, but just kind of vibes based, kind of who they played. Every the power rankings committee polls each member, and they kind of have a placement for where they think each player or each team falls. And I say this because the 6-0 Spectres are number 4. But
I'm
going off the top four, Mustangs number 1. Hard to argue. Been really good. Was number 1 in week 1. Continues to do so. Clarity United Armada being 2-3. Only goes to show you how great that matchup's gonna be once they play. That will be season defining potentially. Spectres rounding out 4th. The criticism here might be they didn't necessarily play the strongest of opponents, but they have been looking great, and I fully expect Spectres to continue to climb.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Next four up, we've got Hammerheads. They did move up to number 5. The Bleacher Boys ended up dropping down to number 6. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a little bit shocked by that. I think the Bleacher Boys have been playing well, but I definitely think there's some room for improvement as the Arctic Assassins take 7th and the Sappers end up taking 8th. With I believe that was after this is after their win against the Rangers. So I mean, this is a really solid top 8.
Definitely, and I think these rosters are kind of going to ebb and flow, but this top 8 feels they all belong here, at least for the moment. At least taking the snapshot now. Now if if a team completely falls off by the end of the week, well, this is just snapshot for week 2, so it gives some hope for the downstream teams that you guys are not completely out of it yet. There is one team that I'm looking at, especially in number 15, but we'll get to that. Number 9, the Kings on the climb, uh, making their way out of and almost breaking into the top 8. 10, the Rangers, kind of a surprise. They're a little bit of an underperformance in week 2, but they are still dangerous, still trying to figure out and navigate their roster. But I have no doubts once they kind of figure that out more, they will get going. Number 11, the Three Rocketeers, and number 12, Astros hold their place. Another one that's a little bit surprising. I didn't necessarily expect the 0-3 against the Armada, but I think that just goes to show you how good the Armada is. And I think the Astros will get kind of play some more teams that kind of complement their play style and that they're able to kind of match up against well. I feel like the Armada is just a team that's been really solid and I think will continue to be solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And to round us off with our top 16, we've got the Cyclones taking the 13th spot. Elite Inc. taking 14th and dropping down to it. Understandable. Again, I think a lot of these there is some points to argue about, but there's also rooms for improvement.
For sure, for sure. And
Number 15. How did we go up a spot?
well,
This is my argument for it. How did we go up? And I'm not saying like we're a bad team. I love the players that I play with. I don't think that we should have gone up to 15.
well, you had an okay showing against the Arctic Assassins. I mean, there was a little bit there was one game there was a little bit out of hand, but
It's because I was backwards, I swear.
you got a match win against the Arctic Assassins versus Vibe Clan getting one against the Kings. Arctic Assassins are ranked higher than the Kings, so you're ranked higher than the Vibe Clan. I think that's the
Fair enough. And to finish it all down, like you mentioned with Vibe Clan drops to 16th, putting them in last with the weekly power rankings. But like we said before, this is only season two, or this is not season two, this is only week two. We still have 8 more weeks for any of these teams to jump up and potentially take the number one spot.
definitely, definitely, and I think at this point, no team is truly out of it. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, and even if the Vibe Clan could still retool their roster and Speed Demons retool their roster or hit the training packs hard and make a resurging comeback into the playoffs, definitely still possible. Anything can happen at this point. Nobody's out of it. But that will conclude our power rankings. And we highlighted the top teams. Now let's highlight the top players for the calculated division, the players of the week. It's it's us.
I mean, what a great profile picture. I mean, I might set that as like my default. The Hammerhead's profile picture just looks really, really cool. And you know what else is really cool? I mean, look at the score per game. Almost averaging 550 score, 4 goals in their series against Three Rocketeers. No wonder why it's Saska put on player of the week.
Definitely, definitely. But moving onwards, we have scraps
The
for
one
the
and only.
Savage Division.
Yeah, the the one and only Scraps. I mean, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, Scraps on the committee." No, Scraps played phenomenally against the Bleacher Boys. 577 score per game, 7 total goals, almost scoring 2 goals per game. I mean, phenomenal, right? It can't get better than this, right?
I mean, for sure, Scraps had a wonderful matchup, but for the Epic Division, hitting a couple of amazing shots, in my opinion, it's Mel.
Yeah, I mean, Mel played phenomenally. I mean, we'll see why in a short while that why Mel is on the player of the week. I mean, 4 goals, You might not be putting up as many goals as some of the other players of the week, but you are still doing so much in the game to help your team end up taking the win against the lead Inc.
Definitely, definitely. And to round out our top four or top players of the week, not the top four, no order, it's just the divisions. It's Chop Jr. for the sick division.
Yeah, I mean, Chop Jr., I believe, scoring the most points per game out of everybody. Like I said, though, might not have as many goals, but what we don't see is we don't see assists, we don't see saves, and those are a big factor of what counts as being player of the week. Obviously, we'll show goals per game and total goals, but you always have to take a look and see what other stats are missing, and that is what determines what a player of the week is. And Chop Jr. showed that perfectly.
Definitely, definitely. And that was kind of same arguments for Reese. You know, he had the number two saves and number one assists of week one, and that just kind of shows you kind of being that support player. Chop Jr. and Chawigo kind of linking up. Chawigo was the player of the week one. Those two are, it's crazy that those two are on the same roster. They just link up so well. They play so well together, and you know, I love watching them.
Yeah. As do I. But like you say, that rounds off our players of the week. Congratulations to those four. For those who didn't quite see, we had Scraps, Mel, It Sauce, and Chop Jr. as our four players of the week, each in their own respected division. But with that, Drac, I think we have one more thing to show all the people.
One more thing, and kind of rounding this out, we're gonna go speed run through the clips of the week. Bring it to you live. Number five, we have, I believe it is some good team play on the side of the Cyclones. Dead getting the credit for the goal, but good pass, just opening up the Mustangs.
Yeah, a really good pass from CJ. Blubber puts it down the field. CJ gets a redirect that puts Chop Jr. out of position, and Dead is just able to snipe that bottom corner.
And number four, we have a beautiful play by Norm. Gonna take his time and fake the absolute breaks off of Moose. Just the way the camera was on that one was completely unforgiving for Moose. He just goes completely flying by.
I mean, it is very tough to depict whether or not it's going to be a straight shot or if it's going to be a fake. I was going to say, are we getting another clip out of it? But no, we move on to number 3, and it is Waffles with a very, very good air dribble. I almost think that he was trying to get the reset, end up faking it, and just places that perfectly.
It's just so crazy how many touches he gets on it and just kind of carries this gently around Blubber. Or no, sorry, not Blubber. I completely get the wrong team. I carry it just nicely around Reserve Wolf, and that was just crazy. But for number two, it is. We're speaking of reserve, the Merc reset, beating Dr. George, former teammate. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that there was a lot of, I say it's gonna be weird to say, but hypeness, like a hype moment because of it being a former teammate and all. But with number 1, we have the one and only Mel with an amazing ceiling pinch off of the corner of the wall to put it in and take that goal. That is phenomenal.
I mean, like off the corner too. Really clean, really technical, and it was just beautiful how it kind of all unfolded. Definitely worthy as number one for clip of the week. If you think you have a better clip, submit it in the Discord and the clips on stream. That is where our wonderful head of media, C Strife, pulls his clips to determine which clips make the top five. So if you want your clip featured, make sure you go ahead and submit. But that will do it for the recap. Zyrek, what are you looking forward to for the Kings versus Cyclones very quickly?
The Kings versus Cyclones. I'm definitely looking to see a lot of mechanical play coming out from the Kings with Kento and Sea Strife, but they can also do some really good passing plays with Wanted Toast. Whereas with the Cyclones, I'm definitely looking to see, like we saw in the first clip, I'm definitely looking to see a lot of passing plays to try and get around the Kings defense. I think it's going to be a good matchup. As much as some people might think, oh, it's going to be a blowout, one team's going to win. No, I think that this could definitely be a solid matchup between both of these teams.
Definitely. And we will get to that now. But first, we gotta shout out the trailer once again, Sea Strife. And thank you for Sea Strife and Scraps for all of the production assets, for Scraps' work with determining players of the week, power rankings, and Sea Strife making all these beautiful graphics. Shouting out as well Zyrek for putting up with me cyberbullying him on the speed demons. But that will do it for us for now. But don't go anywhere. Kings versus Cyclones after this.